Hey everybody, it's Matt Johnson here. We are back with another episode of Real Estate Uncensored. Just want to thank you for joining us. And while we wait for a few people to join us live, you can actually watch us record these episodes on Google Hangouts, which is a lot of fun. So you can head on over to YouTube and subscribe there if you like the video version. If you prefer the audio, you can go over to iTunes or Stitcher. And we're talking all about 1031 exchanges today, both how to use them for yourself and how to present and work with clients to get them the best tax advantages and how to work with them and explain the process. So we've got a special guest that we're going to bring in. But first, let me bring in the junior grandmaster himself in the co-pilot seat, Greg McDaniel. Greg, what's up today?
Matt, good morning to you. Well, actually, it's afternoon. I don't know why I said Monday. We only record Fridays in the morning.
That's
God,
right.
See, it is a Monday. I can't remember shit. My mind, I had a Sunday Fun Day was a little too Sunday Fun Day, if you know what I mean.
Okay.
But I had an incredibly awesome time. I talk about this Tasty app on Facebook or that page, and I went and made a couple more dishes off of it this weekend. Now, it's supposed to be a slow cooker full chicken with a rub on it with paprika and some other fiery spices, and onions and potatoes and some other vegetables down below. It looked really good in the app, and mine turned into a gelatinous blob, which I am going to sift through and be like, I think that's edible. I think that's edible. But slightly disappointed in that. Besides that, man, if I was doing any better, I would need a twin. Life is amazing. I am having a big problem, though. Jay Samet gave us a challenge to come up with 3 things that bother us every day. I honestly cannot do it. Either I'm the happiest guy on God's green earth, or I'm blindly naive about the majority of my life. I'm not sure.
Well, it's funny because you start to realize that, and the Frank from Viral Marketing told me this all the time. He's like, Matt, I have a very hard time finding problems that aren't solved by just having more money. Because it's true. It's very, very difficult for me to list problems that humanity has that aren't solved by just being able to pay someone to do it or buy the technology that already does it. So anyway,
workforce, products, dating, sex. I mean, you seriously got it all covered.
That's right.
You can be a 500-pound fat dude who drools, but you got enough money, dude. You got the hot blonde.
That's right. That's true.
I need to I need to figure out how to get that done.
All right, let's move on. Let's bring our special guest. I'll let you introduce him, Greg, and then we're going to take a question from the Facebook group before we get into the bulk of our show today. So, Greg, who is our special guest?
We have one of my absolutely good friends of mine who it only took us 2 years to actually get together and have a beer, which we successfully did in 2016. We've been planning it since 2014. And God, either we're super, super busy or we just don't like each other that much. I don't know which one it is. No, I do. This guy his name is James Callejas. He's with IPX 1031 Exchange. Guys, I have known him for a number of years. He's incredibly knowledgeable about 1031 exchanges, how to help people, take all that cap gain, all that money you've made on your real estate investment, how to transfer it over without getting taxes taken out of it. So, James, thank you, my friend. I really appreciate you being here. I know that these people are going to get a wealth of knowledge from you.
Hey, it's a pleasure to be here today. I can't wait to educate everybody out there about the 1031 exchange because most people don't know what the hell we're talking about, and it's time today to give them the eye-opener.
I couldn't agree with you more. I sat with a poor family about 2 weeks ago. They had just sold one of their investment properties. The agent that they were using didn't even know what a 1031 exchange was. I explained it to her. I'm like, oh, did you do a 1031 exchange? She's like, what's that? And I saw the shock of horror and look of horror in the poor lady's eyes when I explained to her. She probably just pissed away 10, 15, 20, 40, who knows the amount of money that they pissed down the toilet. And so she would have loved to have had her agent have spoken to you. So this is going to help a lot of folks, my friend. So thank you again.
My pleasure. Let's do this.
Do it, baby.
All right, well, before we get into that, let's cover a quick question. So this one stuck out to me real quick, and I wanted to bring this to Greg because it's basically a chance for him to devil's advocate himself, which will be fun. So if you're not already a member of this group, it's the Facebook the lead gen description objections group. It's facebook.com/group/gotobjections. Greg and I are both members. It's a really good community there. So Iris Triplet Baker says, this is for the individual agents still building their business. Do you find that you lose a lot of listings to teams? And how do you overcome the objection or the concern of a seller who has already been prematurely influenced by the team concept Just as honestly, I think if I were a novice seller, if someone says that they have a 5-member team with X amount of total experience, and then another agent is just a single growing agent, even though they're very capable, I would tend to gravitate towards the team because I would envision all these people working on my behalf. So, how do you respond to that objection? So, Greg, this is kind of your bread and butter. This is your exact value proposition when you go into a listing presentation. So, how would you handle it? If you were going in against Greg McDaniel, and you're a young Greg McDaniel solo out in the world, how do you combat that?
Oh shit, that's a big order, man. What I would probably do is I would say, one, if you're seriously that's the thing that you're losing out to, and then consider joining a team. Go and interview different teams, see what structures work, see what might help you. If you honestly feel that you're losing money and you're not opposed to that idea, go join a team. Let's say you're categorically opposed to teams. They make you break out in hives, and you run for the cover of darkness when you think of a team. I would say you have to, again, you could say that you're very, very selective on who you work with. You value your time incredibly, high above, right next to breathing, and so you kind of interview them right back. You throw the value of you back into their lap, going, well, I'm not sure if you're going to be the right client for me. Now let me explain how I work. And then I would break down like I do with the other stuff, guys. Bullet point exactly what you have to value offer. It doesn't matter if you think it's silly or not. Just start bullet pointing it out. Talk about humanize yourself. That would be another one I would work on quite a bit, because if you can't sell them on the business side, get them to like you. Then they're going to want to help you and give you business. People do work with the people they know, like, and trust. So if you can become one or all of those, I think that could dramatically help. But this is a real tough question, man. I am struggling here because everything I say to everyone is about team. Everything. James, what would you do?
Join the McDaniel team.
That's my boy. Yeah. Well, you got a seat open for you, pal. You want to come join?
All right. Well, I'll throw my 2 cents in, and then we'll talk about. We'll give some shout outs to people and get into the content. So my 2 cents would be, and I started a team right off the bat when I did go into real estate. So I used that. I was in the exact same position, right? If I were coming at it from the other perspective, I would focus on the personalized service that they're going to deal with one person all the way through the transaction, and I would point out that if they're dealing with a team, there's a lot of handoff points where they can't get handed off from one person to the next, whether it's the agent to the transaction coordinator or closing coordinator. Sometimes there's a client care coordinator on the back end of the closing coordinator, and so there's sometimes 3 or 4 or 5 people just within that team that's involved with your transaction. Now, the teams that I know are very good at making sure that handoff process is very smooth and that balls aren't dropped, but that is something that you can present in a listing presentation as a reason not to work with teams. And then I would tout all the things that I'm going to do in the extra time that I have, because I don't have 15 other clients that I'm trying to manage, and I would explain exactly how I'm going to find buyers for their home proactively by making calls, door knocking, brokers tour, neighbors only, open house, promoted by actual postcards, flyers, phone calls, door knocks, the whole 9 yards. So if you don't have a marketing plan that rivals a team and explains what you're going to do with all the time that you have free because you're not working with 10 other clients, you're pretty much sunk. So you got to have that in the bag and ready to go. So
yeah, you know what? I would blow you out of the water when it came to that. If I went up against that as a single, I'd be like, well, that's on. We can do all that, but 7 deep. So
yeah, exactly.
Why wouldn't you just want to work with someone who can be 7 times more effective?
Exactly. But everything has a flip side. Every strength can be made a weakness when you're going in and talking to a potential client. So
all right, the Chinese whisper over there.
That's right.
Every yin has a yang. Every night has a day.
It does. It's very zen of me. All right. So what do you say we give a couple people quick shout outs real quick? And then we'll talk about 31 exchanges.
You go first, because I know you like to be in front of the line.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I wasn't planning on that. Number one, Viral Marketing. Thank you very much for writing a check to make podcasts and hangouts like these happen. If you're not familiar with them, they help you run. They help you generate repeat and referral business from your database with online video and email marketing. Wow. Yeah. I don't know why.
Brian?
On that. Check them out at getviral.com. And then Equity with 2 Qs. buyer lead generation built from the ground up for solo agents, small teams. It's great for brokerages as well, especially if it's not available in your market yet. It's in beta testing right now. So if you're interested in generating a small number of higher quality buyer leads that you can work with to close actual deals from actual clients, get a hold of Greg. I know, actual deals. How about that?
Real deals.
I know. So Greg, who do you want to shout out real quick, and then we'll give the McDaniel challenge.
So I got the the equivalent of a photobomb on Friday night. It was awesome. Mike up in Washington just said, fuck it. He wants me to call. I'm gonna call him. And so I was like kicking it on the couch, just had a cocktail. I was like finally mellowing out, watching some zombies. And Mike picked up the phone, calls me, and he and I spent an hour and a half on the phone just chatting it up, dude. Super cool dude, man. And I scheduled another time for him so that he and I can kind of hammer out some stuff. So, Mike, really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you for your time. Dave in Long Beach, who I spoke with the other week, he and I are finalizing kind of some of the stuff that we're going to be talking about when we go down to his Keller Williams in Long Beach and talk there. And I clarified with him that there will not be any F-bombs in the time that we speak in front of people. And me being dyslexic, what did I write? I wrote, Dave, I just want to make sure that there will be F-bombs dropped when we speak in front of your broker.
Of course you did. That's so, it's poetic. It's fantastic. That's
and he writes back, he's like, I just want to be clear on what I just read. Are you saying that you will be dropping F-bombs? I'm like, no. There will not be any F-bombs dropped.
Filter is on for in-person appearances, is what you're saying.
Yeah, you got to put the leash back on me.
Okay.
And then Neely, thanks for the thank you. It was a pleasure to see someone so grateful, and so we're honored to have you as a part of this family we call Real Estate Uncensored. So there, I got my shout-outs. I got a full week ahead of me, my friend. I'm starting to book up for the first week in February, but guys, I still have spots open, so get your ass on the phone and let's book a time.
McDanielChallenge.com, and what's your phone number, Greg?
What is my phone number?
Even I know this. 925-915-1978. I'm pretty sure I wake up in the middle of the night saying that.
With cold sweats going, God! No, stop calling.
Exactly. Like Vietnam. 925-915-1978. That's the McDaniel Challenge. Take it. Don't let Greg spend a night alone.
Do not let Greg spend a night alone, guys. Really do. Pick up the phone. Seriously, I love doing this stuff, but please don't not pick up the phone. I mean, pull a mic. Pick up the phone.
Yes, if you're afraid to pick up the phone, text him first, and he will text you back. I can attest to that.
I do. My thumbs work well.
So what do you say we talk a little 1031 exchange?
Let's do this.
All right, so take us through, number one, just the basics, just a basic primer on 1031 exchanges, where it comes into play, what types of clients it would be most helpful to.
Sure. So basically, this is only for investment properties. So when we think of the 1031 exchange, there are 3 properties that don't qualify, so we don't have to think of those properties, and it's everything else. So the primary residence has its own section code. The second home has nothing, and the flipper property has nothing as well. So what we're talking about is properties that are used for business or investment purposes. Doesn't matter if it's residential, doesn't matter if it's commercial, it matters how you treat it. Do you depreciate it? Do you rent it? Do you use it for business or investment purposes? Anything from bare land to a huge commercial building and anything in between. So the way it would work is, let's just say, for example, I bought a single family home 20 years ago. And this isn't what I'm living in, this is what I'm renting. For the last 20 years, I've rented out the single family home. Now I'm looking to sell it. And I've made about $700,000 on this property in the last 20 years in appreciation. Well, if I sell it, I'm going to pay taxes on the entire $700,000 and all the depreciation that I've taken. So why not, instead of selling it and paying over 30% in taxes, reinvest it into another piece of real estate? The 1031 exchange is the code within the IRS that allows us to sell this property, unload it, let the money go into the exchange, then buy another piece of investment property or properties, use up all that money, make it equal or greater value, and pay nothing to Sam, nothing to Jerry in California, nothing to Barack in healthcare. At the end of the day, I preserve all the equity, reinvest into a better piece of investment property. It's the dream come true when it comes to investment property and real estate.
Yeah, so this is basically the government's way of encouraging real estate investment.
Absolutely. Continue to keep that flowing. It'll keep the economy booming because look at how many players are involved. You got realtors, you've got lenders, you've got appraisers, you've got 1031 people, you've got escrow people. That's on that side. Now on the other side, how many properties are we going to buy? How many other people are we going to get involved? How many better investment properties are we going to get? How much more money is that investor going to make? It's a beautiful thing when it comes to real estate.
All right, so quick question on that before we get into and then Greg, you go. I was just curious. You mentioned that flipping property, or property that's been bought and flipped. Did you say that does not apply? That's one of the three that it doesn't apply to, right?
Yeah, so let's go over the three. So number one, the flipper, right? Because a lot of people out there, especially investors, they buy investment property or what they consider investment property, either fix it up or buy bare land and build on the bare land, then look to unload the asset. Well, how long have you rented it? How long have you depreciated? How long have you actually had that property for it to be considered investment property? What the IRS likes to look at is operation. What was the operation of that property? Well, there was none, right? You bought it, you fixed it, you sold it. So it's being held as inventory. Inventory doesn't qualify for a 1031 exchange. So if you're buying the property with the intent just to fix it and flip it, doesn't work. Then the big question comes, okay, I bought it, I fixed it. Now, how long do I have to keep it before I can actually qualify for this exchange? Because I don't want to pay a lot of capital gains tax. Then there comes, well, are you aggressive or conservative? The aggressive CPA likes to operate it for at least a year and a day. The conservative cat likes to wait 2 years, and now we're going to unload it. But if you just buy it, fix it, sell it, do an exchange, and get audited, you're probably going to fail.
So it's a year and a day for it to be considered income property, right? An investment piece?
Well, definition of a capital long-term investment is 1 year and 1 day. There's nothing in black and white that says, oh, after a year it's magically this, or after 2 years it's magically that. So you go with shields. What's the first shield? Definition. Second shield, revenue procedure, private letter ruling, your CPA signature. And you know what? Some people do it in less than a year if they've got a good reason. If I buy a piece of property today, I fix it up, I'm looking to rent it. 2 months later, somebody says, you know what, I know you bought this, I know what it's worth. You bought it for $1 million, I'm going to give you $3 million for it.
Okay.
I decide to do a 1031 exchange. It's an unsolicited business opportunity I can't refuse. That'll probably hold up in an audit. So
Really?
it really depends.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So can't someone game that situation? So can't they, I don't know, figure out someone to, basically dupe them into buying properties? Or no, the more I thought about it before I opened my mouth, I should have done that. No, I don't think they can really game this, Matt.
Well, if you're going to do that, don't get that recorded anywhere. If you have some devious plan like that, you don't want to show that your intent was there. This is supposed to be like, this is our plan. We were going to hold this for a long period of time as investment property, and then magically somebody just offered me something I couldn't refuse. That's the scenario.
What's the definition of you can't refuse with air quotes? Is it something that you perceive as like that you can't refuse it? So if someone comes in.
Yeah,
So
if it's just a great price. What if a developer wants the property that you just bought, and they're offering you millions, hundreds of thousands more than what you bought it for? When to me, that's a proposition that's a great business opportunity. And if I were to be audited, I could say, hey, look, this is what I did. This is what I bought it for. Look at my paper trail. This is what happened. I didn't put it on the MLS. Unsolicited. This is a great business opportunity. Who would say no to that? And get your CPA to sign off on it as well.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Okay, so let's go through it from kind of the agent's perspective. So it doesn't apply to your main residential or your second home, and it doesn't apply to flipping properties. So you're talking about working with investors that they are on some type of buy and hold strategy. That's most of the time. That's when this is going to come up, right?
Yeah, most of the time that's when it's going to come up. But now, in these days and in this market, you're going to have a lot of mixed-use property. So on the primary residence, just qualify it. If they're just living there, then clearly it's not going to be a 1031 exchange. But how many people work out of their home and claim that portion on their taxes? How many people have a storefront downstairs? How many people in the Central Valley live on a farm? That's where you can take advantage of the primary residence exclusion and the 1031 exchange. So every time we're talking to a client, we just want to make sure that it's solely a primary residence, or if there's another component to it. Because if there's an investment component to it, then we can perhaps use the 1031 exchange as well as the primary residence exclusion. So 1031, the primary residence doesn't qualify unless there's an investment component. Second home will never qualify for a 1031 exchange. And the brief definition of a second home is if I use it more than 2 weeks out of the year, 14 days for personal use, it's a second home. So how do I keep it investment property? Don't use it more than 14 days. Rent it out for 14 days. Do it for 2 years. Then sell it and do a 1031 exchange. Otherwise, I'm selling that second home and paying taxes.
Got it. So Matt, who works out of his home, let's say he owned his home where he's currently standing, and let's say he's been working there for a long period of time, and he has a home office that's full blown operational. I mean that it would be a justification for a 1031 exchange, correct?
On that portion, yeah, on that portion. So on his tax returns, he's claiming a certain percentage for the home office. Whatever that number is, let's say it's 25%. When he sells the home, 75% qualifies for the primary residence exclusion, and the 25% would qualify for the 1031 exchange. So whatever the percentages are, will qualify for the exchange, and the other portion, as long as he's been there 2 out of the last 5 years, will qualify for the primary residence exclusion.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, so that I can definitely see that coming into play a lot with people in your guys' neck of the woods, and especially here in San Diego. I mean, there's a ton of entrepreneurs, and everybody works out of their home at least a portion of the time. I mean, it could be 10%, it could be 30%.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you want to do capital gains exclusions, you can do the 250 for the husband, 250 for the wife. Correct? 500 for a married couple, or 250 for an individual, right? So
yeah, even if you had like 4 people living in the home and there was huge gains and they all were on title, it'd be $250 per person.
Oh, anyone on title is $250.
Yeah.
Well, so why wouldn't you want to have you, your wife, your mom, your dad,
the dog, your kids, everybody else?
Everybody's on title. Your dentist.
Technically, you could, but I'm not putting my kid on title. You can do it.
There's other considerations besides capital gains tax in life, right?
Agreed.
Yeah. Okay. So James, tell me a little bit about kind of where you come into it, where you come into the process, and how you work with clients, and how are you present. Like if you were in the shoes of an agent and you're trying to figure out whether someone's residence qualifies, and part of it does, how do you go into a client and explain and present the 1031 exchange in a way that helps them understand what's in their best interest?
Well, from the start, I'm going to tell them that this is a tool in real estate that will allow you to build wealth within your real estate portfolio. So that'll confuse them in the beginning, and then I'll explain how this is actually going to expand their universe when it comes to real estate. So ideally, I get the call before they even list the property. Unfortunately, that happens maybe about 5% of the time. Usually people call me when there's a problem, when they go into contract, when it's already in the midst of the game. What I'd like is the call from the beginning, from the agent, from the principal, from whoever, saying, I'm not sure where this lands in the 1031 world. Can you help me? And then I'll ask them a series of questions. How they treat the property. Do they depreciate it? How long have they owned it? How long has it been a rental? What are they looking to do? Do they know how much they're going to pay in capital gains tax if they were just to cash out? We'll get the CPA involved if it needs to go to the next level, or if we want to find out whether they're aggressive or conservative. Then I'll explain to them, these are your options. You see, you want to get out of the single-family residence. This is just an example, because now you want more doors. You'll sell this single family, and you're going to buy a 6-unit building that's going to triple your rent flow. It's going to provide you with more depreciation because you're buying up in value, and that's going to put you in the location that's most ideal for what you're looking for, and you're not going to have to pay a cent in taxes, and this is how it's going to work. So my role would be to coach them on the rules of the 1031 exchange from the start, prior to listing, during the listing, once they go into contract, then set up the 1031 exchange prior to the close of escrow, because you cannot close on a property without the 1031 exchange being set up. And I'll make sure that they adhere to the guidelines in terms of timing and in terms of type of property that they can acquire, and make sure that that all works through escrow, through the realtor, through the lender, through everybody involved within the transaction, so there's no hiccups.
So what are your timelines? Go over those real quickly with folks.
First off, again, most important, set up the exchange prior to the close of escrow. How do we do that? Contact James prior to the close of escrow. Get James a copy of the sales contract that we assign into the rights to act as the seller. get me a copy of the preliminary title report so I can see who's on title. Then we'll set up the exchange prior to the close of escrow. Once escrow closes, the client will have 45 calendar days to identify what they're going to acquire, and an additional 135 days after day 45 to close on what they identified. So here's the way it looks. Set it up prior to the close of escrow. You have 45 calendar days to find something, and you have the rest of the time for a total of 180 days to close on it. Here's my advice. Look for your property before you close on the one that you're selling. 45 days goes quickly. This is all a plan. This is not something like, hey, let's do one of those 1031 exchanges. This is, I don't like this property. I'm interested in this type of property in this area. So let's go research what we're going to get into before we even list this property. Have the game plan in place so we don't fail. The people that fail exchanges don't plan it out. The people that don't plan it out can't find replacement property. The people that plan it out properly are in a better lifestyle and are closer to retirement.
So Matt, actually a great, we should put James, or people should, when they're going to do 1031 exchange, they contact James, but then they can contact Ben Smith over at Real Wealth Network, so that they can help start identifying properties ASAP and get that ball going, or just call the McDaniel Callahan team. I mean, really, whatever. No, it's okay.
Why don't you tell us how you really feel, Greg?
Well, I can lay it out for you, but this is your show, buddy. No, but you have a 1031 exchange, and there are alternatives to 1031 exchanges that do the same thing of deferring the cash and the taxes, right?
Yeah, so some people are done with real estate for whatever reason. Maybe they don't like property management. Maybe they don't like the risk factor of every real estate transaction can't be gold. I don't want to be the one that's going to be garbage. I want out of the game, but I also don't want to lose everything in taxes. There is another vehicle out there that's not as popular, and in my opinion, it's because people just don't understand. So if you're not interested in staying in the real estate game, there is something called a structured sale. And the way the structured sale works is similar to an annuity. So prior to the close of escrow, again, think of it like this. You can never touch money. If you touch money, you're taxed. So everything that you're going to do with what I'm talking about has to be set up and in place prior to the close of escrow. We've spoken briefly about 1031 exchanges. Right now I'm going to explain a structured sale. So a structured sale is where you determine prior to the close of escrow that you're not going to touch the money and it's going to go into this structured sale. The structured sale is where at the close of escrow, instead of the proceeds going into a 1031 exchange account, it's going to go into an annuity, for example, and that money is going to be invested for a number of years. You will determine the number of years. While it's invested, you don't lose any of that equity. It continues to grow because it's invested immediately. Now, prior to the close, you're going to determine for how long. So let's just say, for example, I close today. I have $500,000 that is coming out of this exchange, or not exchange, out of the sale, and going into the structured sale. I don't need it for 10 years. In 10 years, I'm going to retire. So if I don't touch it for 10 years, and it's growing, I don't know, at a 5% clip for 10 years, now my $500,000 has grown to, let's just say, $700,000, or whatever the number is. And I'm going to determine that from 10 years from the close of escrow of that transaction, A, it's grown, and B, I'm going to determine I'm going to want disbursements for the next 20 years of my life. And I will only pay taxes when I receive those disbursements. So the idea is I preserve all the equity at the close, all of that continues to grow for the next 10 years, and then I'm going to live on it for the next 20.
Mm-hmm. Now, why are people not using this more? Is it just because they've never been told it? Is it because is there some negative side effect that we're unaware of? I mean, what is the reason? That sounds like basically.
Well, the negative side effect is, well, I'm paying taxes over a period of time. In the 1031 exchange, the motto is swap till you drop, right? Because if you hold that real estate, continue to build wealth on that real estate, eventually when you die, there'll be a step up in basis and the heirs will receive that, and they could decide to sell it at that point without a capital gain. On the structured sale, well, this is, I don't care about my kids. I'm going to keep the money to myself. and I'm going to live off of it for the next 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it doesn't have to be that way either. You could just be, I don't need the money right now. I'm going to let it grow, and then that'll be part of the Social Security and pension, other means of supplemental income that I'm looking for in the future. I still have real estate holdings, but for this particular asset, perhaps I want to put it into a structured sale to guarantee this type of supplemental income for the future. There's a lot of different reasons why people do and don't, and some people are just real estate people.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go into a structured sale. I want to be in real estate. I want to stay in real estate. I love the game. I love the gamble. I love going into different properties, right? I love being able to sell a single-family residence and go buy a Jack in the Box, to go buy an office building, to go buy a 10-unit building. I love going into commercial property because I love real estate. Or maybe I love to go to Fort Worth, Texas, and buy 10 condos because I know I could get $600 a month in rent. And I've got 10 different rents, and now I'm getting $6,000 a month instead of $2,000 at the property I sold out here in San Leandro. It all depends on what you want to do, and there's a lot of reasons to go into the structured sale and a lot of reasons to stay in real estate. And I think through our listing appointments, we'll determine what don't you like about this, and here's an exit strategy that might work for you.
Well, you blew my mind the other day. Well, a couple of years back when we were really talking about this. You guys who don't know us, James and I have been on a number of radio shows and done a lot of interviews together. And you said something to me. Let's say someone is selling. You brought up a Jack in the Box, right? A commercial space. I believe you told me that you can 1031 exchange like other equipment, anything of value, not just real estate, right?
Yeah. So there's real property, which is a single-family residence, a condo, office building. Then there's personal property. And so personal property could be the equipment. So say like we're selling a farm, right? Well, in the farm, there's a lot of different components. We live on the farm, so there's the primary residence portion and all the land that's allocated towards the primary residence. Then there's the actual farm, but there's equipment on the farm. So you've got tractors and farm equipment, and there's separate depreciation schedules for the different types of equipment that they have that run the farm. So when they sell this, I've got three different things going on. I've got the primary residence, 250-500 exclusion that we mentioned earlier. I've got the real property portion, which is the actual land, the crop, the farm, all of that. And then I've got the actual equipment. So I'm doing three different transactions. The farm could go into, let's say I'm tired of working on the farm. I want to go into something I don't have to do anything. I buy a Walgreens after selling this farm, and I do absolutely nothing because it's triple net lease, except get a paycheck each month. Now, on the equipment, I'm going to have to stay in the same asset class. So it's really going to depend on what type of equipment I have to preserve all of that depreciation recapture that I would get hit with and reinvest it in something of similar like kind nature. So Greg, you're bringing up a point that is on some of the more intricate exchanges where you're selling something that has multiple components to it. And you'll find that in different real estate transactions. Depending upon what they're selling, they may have the opportunity to take advantage of that. Or maybe they're not selling real estate at all. Maybe they're selling a plane, right? Want to do a 1031 exchange with the plane. Maybe they're selling a boat. Want to do a 1031 exchange with the boat. Maybe it's art. Maybe it's...
Actually, I have a boat that we're thinking about selling. And we're thinking about buying another boat.
Same thing with cars. Cars, boats, vintage cars, they appreciate in value. There's a lot of different opportunities and a lot of different items that get depreciated. And instead of paying the depreciation recapture, which is 25% right off the bat to the feds, not including the state tax, let's reinvest in the same asset. And now we don't have to pay that.
So next time I sell my car, I can 1031 it into another car?
There's opportunities for that, especially vintage cars.
Well, how old is vintage? I mean, some might consider me verging on vintage.
I was gonna say, I don't know if you're. Was that like a '98 Tahoe or something?
It's a 2004 Denali.
Some things have no value.
Hey, we did about my
was
Denali.
awesome.
It really depends what's going on, but there's all kinds of fleets in the Midwest for semis that do 1031 exchanges every single day. A large part of our business is on personal property transactions. Depending upon what your trade is, there could be a huge opportunity for 1031 exchanges. Now out here we're talking mostly real estate, and we're talking a tremendous amount of transactions in California. Southern California and Northern California are the hottest markets in the world for 1031 exchanges.
No kidding.
Interesting.
We do over, just at our outfit alone, we do over 800 a month.
Holy shit! Seriously?
Yep.
I'm in the wrong business. I need to get over there and start doing some exchanges. 800 a month? That's impressive.
800 a month.
So here's
anywhere from a sales price of 50,000 to about $1 billion.
Billion?
Billion. Office buildings in Northern California and San Francisco and Southern California will go anywhere between 200 million and $1 billion.
Christ, dude. So here's a question for you. When it comes to understanding 1031 exchanges just a little bit more, is there a resource, or is a product, or is there something on your site that people could go read, or something like that? So they can
my website would probably be one of the better things that you can go on to. We give webinars all the time. They're on the website as well. I give continuing education to any real estate professional, whether it be the residential realtor or the attorney, the real estate attorney, or the estate planning attorney. It's funny. Most people say, oh, I know everything I need to know. I know everything about 1031 exchanges. They come to the class and they get everything wrong.
So they're real estate agents.
Yeah,
I don't need to get education. No, I graduated from my real estate school in '72, and it's been great.
It's funny when the attorneys are saying that. And when they challenge. The good news about attorneys and CPAs, when they actually find out that they're wrong and you provide them literature, they acknowledge it. The residential realtor is probably just going to say, no, that guy doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
So,
Probably.
Yeah.
But how cool is that, man? I mean, with this information on this episode, people are now armed, and they know what a structured sale is. They have a deeper knowledge about your timelines for your 1031 exchanges. They found that you can do 1031 exchanges on personal property. It's pretty interesting. You help wealthy clients exchange out stuff. Can you roll roll real property and personal property into one big ball of an exchange, or like you said, you have to do like kind, so they can't go in one big package?
You probably could, depending upon what you're going into, like a gas station to a gas station, a farm to a farm. Some things will work within each other. It really depends, and that's where we would help analyze and go over all the different options that are out there. It's all kinds of things that we can do, our legal counsel can do. It really depends. It can get so complicated at times. The beauty is you don't have to know almost anything except how to identify it, and then just give me a call, and I'm here to guide you through it. Over 35% of the property in Northern California, in Southern California, is non-owner occupied. It is a huge market.
Wow.
And most times untapped.
That's amazing. I found that out that Alamo is a city right around us. Whoever doesn't know this 680 corridor, Alamo, and it's a high price points, and 10% of those homes are non-owner occupied. I did not know it was that high. I was baffled by that number.
You want to know what's even more alarming?
Oh boy.
Is that there's a lot of bare land in Alamo with people that have owned it for a long time that just sit on it and think they're doing a great job. Well, let me tell you something, people. You've made a lot of appreciation on that money, but there's no income. Unload the asset and put it into an income-producing piece of property. Because if you have $4 million and you go into a Walgreens and you make 6% on that $4 million, that is a lot of money annualized. To me, the last time I looked, that's over $200,000 a year that you're making on that, doing absolutely nothing.
And sit on your ass in the Caribbean, drink Mai Tais, and date blondies. Remember, because I had to find out to be the fat old dude. Remember?
Yeah.
But here's something that a lot of people might have in the back of their mind. I know the answer to this, but I want to put it out there. When people are selling property, they become very money centric. They're dollars and cents, bottom line. So who pays you? Is it another commission that's tacked on? How does this work?
So when it comes to the 1031 exchange, it's usually based on the type of transaction that's going on, but our fees are going to range anywhere between $750 to about $1,500 for a regular traditional exchange, and the reverse exchange where you buy first or the build-to-suit exchange where you buy land and build on it is going to probably range anywhere between $6,000 to $12,000, just depending upon if it's residential or commercial property, if environmental reports are needed, or just what have you is going on with it. But basically, our fees are nothing compared to the amount you would save in capital gains tax. Average you're going to pay in capital gains tax in the state of California is 30% on your gain. If you make a lot of money, it could go as high as 40. It's very rarely going to go under 30%. Let's just take that number. If I made $100,000 on the property and I have to pay taxes, I would lose $30,000 in taxes average. If I'm in a good area and I make a lot of money on the property, I'm going to lose $35,000 to $40,000. That is a lot of money that I could use to reinvest in real estate and make more cash on the dime. It makes no sense to cash out, in my opinion, unless you really need the money. Continue to build wealth within the portfolio.
Why? I mean, there's no logical reason why anyone would ever not want to take advantage of this.
If they need the money for some reason, and that has happened, and I'll tell them, you don't need it. You need this. It's more important for you. But in most cases, Greg, I would agree with you. If they are in a position to unload the asset and they wanted to get into something better, this is the tool they have to use.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Cool. So, James, what's you mentioned your website is a good resource for people to go to learn more. So how do they get there?
www.ipx1031.com, and that's I as investment, P as in property, X as in X-ray, 1031.com.
Perfect.
That's easy.
Cool.
Wow.
All right.
That was some heavy content. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was really good. And that's, I mean, for that low, I'm surprised the fees are that low. But I was going to ask the same question as far as how you get paid.
You can pay more if you want. Donations can go to my Hawaii fund.
Which, everybody, I want you to take a notice how tanned James is. He and his wife just got back from Hawaii. Lucky dog.
Last night, 10 o'clock.
And look, he's here ready to go for our show. How cool is that?
That's right.
That's pretty cool.
All right, well, let's say we wrap it up and send this puppy home.
Let's do it, homeboy.
All right. So once again, just a quick thank you to Viral Marketing for writing a check to make podcasts and hangouts like these happen. Check them out at getviral.com. And then Equity with 2 Qs, online buyer lead generation that's built from the ground up for solo agents and small teams. There's also a really good brokerage plan. So if you have a handful of people in your brokerage office and you'd like to get them, gather them together and all go in and generate leads together, we can hook you up with that. Just get in touch with Greg. And if it's not already available in your market, if you can round up a few people, we can bring it anywhere in the country. So Greg, how do people reach you?
Here it is. You're going to take the McDaniel Challenge. First off, it's going to do kill 2 birds with 1 stone. One, you'll get a hold of me on my cell. Text me, call me, 925-915-1978. Again, 925-915-1978. Please, hashtag don't let Greg spend the night alone. Or go to McDanielChallenge.com. Get a time with me, guys. I cannot wait to have you guys get some one-on-one with you. And if you guys want to learn more about the equity program, we'll sit there and just chew the fat about equity and kind of what it's doing. And I'll share like what I did on our last episode. I'm cutting out 6 other lead generations sources, and I'm keeping equity because of the quality of the leads that are coming in. So get a hold of me, guys. I really look forward to talking to you. I love doing these podcasts. I love being able to help you guys in your real estate professions. And all of those who have taken the McDaniel Challenge, I applaud you. At this point, Matt and I, we're going to put together a panel of some sort, probably maybe the end of Q1, somewhere along those lines, when we're going to have any of those who would like to come onto a panel, talk about what you and I spoke about on our challenge, the McDaniel Challenge call, and then if you've implemented it, if it was helpful, if it's made you revenue, just help so other people can understand the value of what we're giving away for completely free, and no gimmicks, nothing like that. So get a hold of me, guys.
Cool. All right, guys, and stay tuned. So Wednesday we've got a big interview with Jeff Latham coming up. He's a big real estate and mortgage coach based out of Washington. He's doing some awesome things, helping extremely successful agents and mega team leaders and mega mortgage guys build out their teams and increase their income while actually working fewer hours. He's actually proven the model himself. He's a team leader as well. He's done all this stuff, so he's going to share kind of how he's done that and the principles that he teaches other agents in terms of how to increase your sales while cutting back your time. So that's on Wednesday. So until then, James, thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Great content. I hope people will reach you. So it's ipx1031.com.
Yeah.
All right, awesome.
Guys.
Thanks so much. We'll see you next time.
Later.
See ya.